Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Estate Now podcast. So excited to have you guys here with us this week. And I'll tell you what, this episode is actually going to be a little different than what we usually do. Typically, we're interviewing past clients or maybe those that are in the HVAC business, so you get a little bit of insight. However, today we're going to go to California, if you're in California right now, Chris, and have a chance to visit with Chris Stafford, who is a very successful agent in the San Francisco Bay Area in California. And one of his team members reached out to me, let's say a couple of weeks ago, and sent his bio. And part of podcasting is it's great to work together with other successful agents, podcasters, and share that content. And as I got to know Chris online, really felt that there's a lot of value that he could bring. He has a coaching company. He's a very successful listing agent in California. And so really we're here just to have a conversation. We'll talk about real estate a little bit. There's some things about Chris's story I'd love to learn more about with you guys here on the podcast. So just get ready for the ride. But Chris, just first want to thank you for taking the time to join us.
Hey, Jason, thanks so much. A pleasure being here.
Yeah. So are you in San Francisco now, the Bay Area?
Yes. So I actually live in and work primarily in the city and county of San Francisco. Absolutely.
Okay. Great. So from the research I did online, which I feel it's fairly accurate, it seems that you went to college in Troy, Michigan.
Right.
And you made your way back to California, but you worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Yeah.
And you bounced around a lot in terms of traveling, I'm assuming.
Yes, absolutely. I think I lived and worked in Detroit, New York, Dallas, and San Diego. Ended up in San Francisco. That's how I got here.
So what ultimately made you land in San Francisco? Was it an opportunity, or you just really liked the area?
No, well, after living in New York, I really want to sort of get out. I'm an urban guy. So okay. I don't really like the country that much. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I love large cities. And after living in New York, I was in San Diego, which was sort of provincial. And there was an opportunity that opened up in San Francisco, which is a lot more urban than San Diego, for me to head up the high technology group for PricewaterhouseCoopers in San Francisco. And they transferred me up there, and I loved it.
So, keeping this, I think having a CPA background is actually really interesting, and I think adds a lot of value. The broker that started our company was a CPA in California and moved his business over here. We'll have to talk about that later. But can you explain a little bit more about that shift? So if I remember right, in 1991, you got your real estate license?
Man, you actually did your research, Jason.
Yeah. So what was the catalyst for you deciding to get into the real estate business?
It's funny because when I went into accounting and I became a CPA, I did it because I was good at it and I made a lot of money doing it, but nobody ever asked me whether I liked it. Yeah. And I absolutely hated it. It was, we used to go home every night like crying on the inside because it was just something. I'm a little bit more personable, gregarious kind of guy. I like meeting new people and just sitting there looking at papers and just being an auditor and a tax person just wasn't it for me. And it was sort of funny because when I moved to San Francisco, I only worked in PricewaterhouseCoopers in San Francisco for a year. And I bought a house through a real estate agent that became a really good friend of mine. And he said, you really should do something that you felt passionate about. And at the time at PricewaterhouseCoopers, I was there for 11 years, and sometimes I'm not that quick on the uptake. It took me that long to figure out that I didn't want to do this anymore. And real estate was just always one of my passions. I used to go to open houses and, the whole 9 yards. So he's the one that got me working in real estate. And my only regret in life is I didn't start sooner.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask you. Is there an element of the fact that you spent that much time doing that you have more appreciation for what you do now? I mean, is there value in that too, that you feel?
Yeah, Jason, that's a great point. I don't think I've ever really realized that. No one's ever made that point before, but sure, when I was a CP, I was doing all kinds of really super cool things and traveling and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that I was unhappy it really adds a lot of value to what I'm doing right now. And it really is the genesis of the book I wrote called Massive Abundance, and which is really all about finding your passion, finding your purpose in life, and really acting on it. And, you know, it's sort of like, you know, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, I think I had to go through that experience for 11 years for me to develop into the person I am today right now, which I'm quite happy with.
Which is good. That's good. So you get your license in 91.
Mhm.
I got to ask you, I mean, was it all sunshine and roses for the first period of time of having your license, or did you ever doubt once you got in it thinking, oh, did I make a mistake doing this?
Never doubted it. Never doubted it
That's
whatsoever.
awesome.
Because, you know, one of the things, I am the eternal Ollie optimistic. So I'm very optimistic about everything. And I'll tell you that I did something, and this is probably sounds like a shameless plug, but it's not. I got a coach, a real estate coach, the very first day I started in real estate. And at the time in 1991, my coach I was paying $1,000 a month for this real estate coach. And I wasn't making any money, but I knew that I needed to really jump the learning curve by being with people that were smarter than me and better than me. And I got that really crystal clear right out of the gate. So, and plus on top of it, I just worked my tail off, you know, for the first 10 years. I mean, I really hunkered down.
So obviously you're successful now. And then, you know, as we were talking on your LinkedIn profile, it seems that the reason you started your coaching company is because of some frustration with maybe past coaching, feeling you were doing all the right things, but it wasn't resulting in anything. So can you go through, or like explain a little bit more about what was your, I say aha moment. I used to be an agent with Keller Williams. That's a big thing there. But in terms of what was the moment when you decided this standard set of things is not working for me and I need to blaze my own path and how I build my business?
Yeah, that Jason, great question again. No one's ever really asked me that question, but I'll tell you, and I haven't really said this out loud to many people, but I was in real estate for probably about 10 years. And my partner of 17 years at the time came down with brain cancer. And so literally, I don't really remember the whole year at all, because all I remember is being in the hospital for 1 year. And I mean, unconscious, brain surgery, on kidney dialysis. I mean, it was like the worst year of my life. And at the end of that, and thank God, totally in remission, been in remission now for 10 years. So
Awesome.
super grateful for that. But at the end of that year, I'll tell you something, Jason, I just realized that what I was doing, again, I felt like I was impactful. I felt like I was helping a lot of sellers and I was making good money, but I felt like there was something more behind it. There was something. And so I wrote this book. And basically the essence of the book is that what we really have to do, Massive Abundance, how to create passion, purpose, and prosperity in your life, is that we got to find something more in our life. And we really need to sort of make ourselves strong in all of our life areas so that we can turn around like in a big circle and give it all back. And that's really the essence of the book, is giving it back. And I'll tell you right now, because I'm getting goosebumps talking about this right now, Jason, I have to tell you, when I am talking to people and helping people, especially real estate agents, and helping them with their businesses, and I get them on the phone and they say, oh, they see the aha and they make that change. I'll tell you, Jason, that brings me the most joy in my life, and I can live off that for days. And to me, it's all about figuring out ways, in whatever you're doing in your life, whether it's real estate or anything else, make yourself strong in all your areas and help others. And that's really what it boils down to. Hope that wasn't too airy-fairy.
No. And I appreciate you sharing that vulnerable piece there. I mean, that's such a vulnerable moment, but like you said, it's kind of a fork in the road in your story. It helps explain that, which I'm grateful for you sharing that. And what I'm really curious about, so your passion is helping people, especially in the coaching arena, but you're still very successful with your business. So how did, at that point, it seems like you had a passion then to start helping others in the same career field. But Can you share maybe a couple pieces of how it impacted how you interact with your clients, whether it's buyers and sellers, and if it changed that dynamic or if it just was the same?
It's interesting because I think, Jason, it really was similar to what I've been doing, because I really thought back in my life, and I think that I really was sort of helping people throughout my whole life. As a CPA working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, I was helping these companies and helping these CEOs. As a listing agent in San Francisco, I'm helping sellers achieve their dreams. And with coaching, same thing, I'm helping others. And it's sort of like a common thread that's always been through my life. And I often think about that because, again, we can do whatever we want to try to make ourselves as strong as possible, but there's just got to be some meaning behind it, if you will. And you touched on something else too, which is interesting, because I never, maybe a lot of people would think the natural progression is I should just move from real estate and I should be a real estate coach because I love it so much. But the thing is I also do love selling real estate. And I didn't really want to give that up because I really love it so much. And I think that it's really good for me. And quite frankly, it's really good for my clients, because I'm not one of those real estate coaches that are sort of like up in an ivory tower. I'm currently in the trenches. I'm doing it right now. And it brings a lot of depth and a lot of meaning to my coaching clients, because I can say, hey, listen, I'm going through the exact same thing right now. And so, yeah.
People usually appreciate, if somebody owns a business, they appreciate the person that will come and do dishes with them, be next to them when it's needed. That's what I've learned, at least.
That's absolutely.
Now, I also am curious too, with, you really have determined what brings you joy in life, what brings you happiness. To what extent have you learned to weed out the things that do not bring you happiness, or the clients that do not bring you happiness? And are you able to gauge that fairly quickly to where you are willing to not work with somebody because you're gauging not a good fit, maybe?
I'll work with anybody as long as there's enough vodka. I'm kidding. I gave it up.
We're live now, Chris.
No, I think that, I think that it's really easy I've really fine-tuned my BS meter, if you will. And so it's really important that I work with people that I really know that I can really trust and I think that I can really help. And conversely too, the same thing goes with real estate. I have clients where, and again, sometimes it takes me a little while, and I just wrote a blog post about this today that I just published today. And, I've got a guy right now that everybody thinks he's a great guy. He's a really great seller, but everybody thinks this guy is a total jackass. And he can be mean, he can be rude and all that kind of stuff, but he's always been really super nice to me. And I'm trying to train him to be nice to everybody else. But the fact is, Jason, I will fire somebody at the drop of a hat. I just had a $5 million listing last year, and the guy was super controlling. Super controlling. I can't even begin to explain how controlling he was. And it was a beautiful house, and we put it on the market. He blamed me for everything. It didn't sell immediately, and after 4 weeks, I fired him. And I told him, I says, this isn't going to work. And I had done previous business with him, but if you ever, what it's like, if you ever have one of those clients, whoever's listening, I'm sure that you've all had those clients that keep you up in the middle of the night. It seems like you always get one a year, if not more. I just can't handle it. For being in the business as long as I have, you just really got to be very judicious with your time, and spending my time working with people who are just jackasses doesn't work for me.
Agreed. When I was first in the business, I think, you do what you have to do, but
Sure.
Over time, once you start to realize how taxing it can be, not only on you, but your business, to have one bad client, even though it may be a huge sale, with them out of your business and out of your mind, it could actually open up. Well, even if it didn't open up opportunities, making the judgment call of your health, what does that mean to you?
And how great does it feel when you tell somebody
so good,
I can't do this anymore? And you're right, it does open up new opportunities, because probably with all that negative energy that you wasted, you could go out and find 2 or 3 more other sellers that are going to be much nicer.
So we've got a short window. I mean, there's so much we could talk about, and you're a wealth of knowledge. So appreciate you being here. I really would like, for those that are listening, we've got a little bit of a picture of your background and your business. Let's talk a little real estate. I just would be curious. I occasionally go to San Jose because a lot of our clients are investors that invest here in Texas.
Mm.
But what is the real estate market like, you know, recently in your area? And like, what is your typical like listing and your days on market? What does your market look like on a day-to-day basis now?
Well, we have two different markets almost in San Francisco. Again, I'm only in the city of San Francisco. I don't do the
Okay.
suburbs. I've got some great referrals to agents out there. But in the city of San Francisco, we have two different markets, and that's one is condos, which a lot of them are downtown and high rises, and those are sitting on the market forever. I have a condo, we're literally a $2 million condo with no outdoor area, which is important, and I'll explain why. That was on the market for 4.5 months. I got one showing in 4.5 months, and thank God that buyer bought it because we're in escrow. So but the other market that we have here is single family homes, and single family homes that have an outdoor area like a yard. Now that is still super hot in San Francisco. So condos are sitting, I think the average days on market for condos downtown is something like 3 months, if you can believe that. And the inventory is sky high. Single family homes though, out from these Center Financial District is probably still like about a week on the market. We're still getting multiple offers and they're still going over the asking price. So the key is having an outdoor area, because in this age of COVID, big fluid, it's like people want an outdoor area.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. In terms of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, around April, there were maybe 3 weeks of complete silence while people were figuring out what was going to happen. But then this summer was absolutely crazy in terms of sales, because I think people are getting cooped up at home. They're finding out they want more space, trying to value that, that aspect of their lives. So did that similar kind of event happen in California as well?
Absolutely. It's you put it perfectly. People just sort of reevaluated the importance of home and what that means to them, because in this whole age of COVID, you're going to spend a lot more time. They wanted more space. In my case, I had a number of clients that now they're going to work from home. They need an extra bedroom for an office or whatever. So yeah, it's people sort of reevaluated the whole thing. This is probably the busiest year I've had since 1991 in real estate. I was super surprised because, like you, I thought after that initial month where everything was sort of shut down, I thought, okay, this is going to be the death knell of this business. And then the floodgates opened and it was crazy.
Yeah, same way here. And it's still, on our side, it's still doing well. I mean, each day I'm still surprised at how quickly things go under contract. Although I will say we rehab a lot of properties. So our quality that we've had to do, whereas in the past we could maybe save some money in certain areas and not do as high of a quality of rehab, that's no longer an option, because we found out in the last 2 months, 3 months, buyers are becoming more picky. And it's probably because they're spending more time at home and they're wanting more of the upgrades, more of those nice finishes, which on a few that we tried out ended up longer days on market. So we've had to shift. It's just really interesting buyer perception in the current market, for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you, working with contractors and getting contractors to work on our listings is going to be the death of me. It's going to give me an aneurysm, I'm telling you, because I'm fighting with a painter right now who said he was going to start on my listing yesterday, and now he's like, I'll try to get to it by Saturday. And it's like,
It's funny. I walked a rehab this weekend, and there were every time I walk a rehab, there's a handful of things that I just can't believe that somebody left the property not seeing these things and just left. And I was talking to my assistant, and I said, well, the reality is, like, this is the business. Like, part of our job is dealing with this. Nobody's going to look at it usually with the detail that the end person, the owner of the company, or the agent that has the listing. So I've learned to be okay, I guess, with that disappointment, because I'm waiting for granite to go in that was supposed to go in on Friday. So
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you, I don't do that much rehabbing. And if you're doing that all the time, you are going to get a higher place in heaven.
Well, we'll see, hopefully. Um, do you work with investors at all?
Do I work with investors? Not really. Not really. The reason is in San Francisco, I deal with a lot of high-end condos and high-end single-family homes. And investors don't want those because you really can't cash flow them unless someone's just going to go in for capital appreciation. And that usually is not, yeah. And so there aren't that many investors that are working the
Yeah.
San Francisco market.
Okay. I'd be curious to know from the side of working with, buyers and sellers. Again, you mentioned on LinkedIn that you were trying all these things and it didn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that are agents really listening in on this podcast now, what is it that you shifted that you're willing to share outside of, coaching?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's in your book, but what are some like highlights that you would be willing to share that of shifts that you made, not cold calling, not door knocking, doing those time wasters maybe that you did to shift and end up growing your business?
Well, there's so many things. One of the things that I realized, big picture, is that consistency is the number one C word in this business. You have to be consistent. And this is the biggest thing that I work with my coaching clients on, is their ability to really sit down and set aside a time. I've been in this business now since 91. So what is that, like 87 years? I've been in this business so long. I am still every single morning between 8:30 and 10:30. I am still working probate attorneys, which is a great way to get listings at low cost. Another answer to your question is I tried to figure out ways to find listings at no cost without spending thousands of dollars on Yelp and Zillow leads and all kinds of other crazy things. I mean, buying seats on bus stops, like what does that make any sense? Spending thousands of dollars on a billboard that
it works, Chris. You just weren't doing it right.
Yeah. People are just going to sit on your face and they don't have enough money to buy a car. So,
oh my gosh, I love that. That's hilarious and true.
So I'd be consistent. I try to find ways to do things that are low cost. Working with probate attorneys, I'm doing that every single day. Sphere of influence. One of the greatest things I'm having a hard time trying to get a lot of my coaching clients to really hit their SOI, their sphere of influence. People that they know, people that love them, and they're having a hard time asking these people for referrals and growing your sphere of influence. I've got a great way in my program to grow your sphere of influence, like by 5 to 10, 20 people a week without it costing anything. These are kinds of the things I sort of shifted away from, is just being consistent, but I'm still doing it every single morning. And if I don't do it, Jason, I feel really sort of cruddy about my day for the rest of the day.
I'm in the same, I totally understand what you're saying. It makes sense. It just kind of throws your day off because you didn't start with what you know to be your most productive activity.
It's like not working out in the morning. If I don't work out in the morning, then I just feel sort of cruddy the rest of the day, which I think is, the other thing that I realized too, that I keep preaching ad nauseum is, your morning is super key. Develop routines that are just absolutely that you have to do every single morning. I personally, what I do is I get up in the morning, I meditate, I exercise, and then, I do things like doing my goals, have great breakfast, I write down my affirmations. I have a whole set list of things I do every single morning, and I do it every single morning, except for the weekends. And again, if I don't do that, man, it really sets you up for the rest of your day.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing, and you talking about your sphere of influence really stuck with me when I was with Keller Williams. They have their big events in Austin all the time, and an agent sent a text with a picture of one of their slides, and it was equating to the size of your database and how many touches you make and what the average commission or sales would be for that type of agent.
Oh, I love it.
And it blew my mind, because there's a lot of agents that I would just look at them, or even myself, and go, wow, if I even stopped making any new connections now and strictly focused on this database that I have, I could reach that kind of, you could reach that kind of sales. It's amazing, because I think a lot of agents don't realize the gold mine that they're sitting on If
And the
it's
flip side of and the flip side of that too is how much money are you leaving on the table? How much money are you not making every year from not contacting those people? And you know what really pisses you off is when you drive by your friend's house and there's a for sale sign in their front yard and it's not yours.
or you go to their house and they've got the little the football schedule of a different agent hanging out up on
Yes,
the
yes.
fridge, and you're like, I thought we were better friends than that. But
I love
well,
it.
we're getting close to the end of the time. So,
Yeah.
I really would love, there's so many valuable things you can share. You have your book where those that aren't even in the real estate business, I think still could gain value from. So if you could share how somebody might access that book or get in contact with you, if they're real estate agents, maybe even brokers that might be able to, find value in your coaching, how would they get connected to you?
Sure. One of the things that I'm certainly offering is I would love to do a free coaching for any real estate agents that are listening to this, a free coaching session. Also, anybody listening, if you want to hit me up and get a free book, I will send you my book for free. And you can hit me up at theagentunleashed.com. That's theagentunleashed.com. And maybe you can put it in the show notes.
Perfect. I would be happy to do that. Good. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. And again, we'll put that in the show notes for you guys listening, for you to get in touch with Chris if you'd like.
Great. Thanks so much, Jason.